திருமல யாத்திரை செல்ல வேண்டும் என் திருமலையப்பனை சேவிக்கவே.
Radhe Radhe. With tremendous joy, I welcome you all to this episode of Sri Venkatesa Vaibhavam, where we are going to see the next stage of the descent of divinity. The first stage was the prayer by Narada Maharishi, the very embodiment of Guru Tattva on behalf of all the afflicted human beings like us, for Bhagavan to descend so that he can be one amongst us. And the second stage is Bhagavan blessing that prayer. In fact, it is Bhagavan who inspired that prayer in the heart of the Guru Swarupam, which is Narada Maharishi. And before Bhagavan could descend, he sent his most trusted lieutenant, his most trusted servant, the Adisesha, our Ananta Alvar, to descend as the 7 hills so that he can also come and bless this wonderful earth by standing atop these 7 hills. We will start with Dhyana Sloka. Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Sasivarnam Saturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. Hare Rameti Krishneti Nama Sankirtanam Sada Lokakshemaya Kurvantam Premikam Sadgurum Bhaje. Radhika Kuchakasturi Kumkumankita Vakshasam Shrunkara Rasamurtim Tam Bhakta Kolahalam Bhaje. Kalage Sundarakaram Sadaika Priyadarshanam Ajnananashakam Devam Sadgurum Ralidaram. Murali Mandita Karakamalam Unijana Mohanam Vyatyastapadam Vanamala Dharinam Prema Bhakta Mandala Nitya Kirtitam Premika Varadam Ashrayegam. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udhirayet. Vaibhavam Divyadeshanam Puraneshu Prakirtitam Kathitam Kavyarupena Krishna Premika Surina. Tirthasnana Palam Sarvam Kshetra Yatra Palam Tatha Patatam Shrunvatam Chapi Sulabham Nahi Samshayaha. Namah Shri Ranganataya Kaveri Madhyashayine Archavatara Sresthaya Sarva Mangaladayine Srimate Sarvajivanam Sharanyaya Kripalave Narayanaya Haraye Shri Rangabrahmane Namaha. Samasta Kalyana Gunabhiramam Ramanivasam Ramaniya Gatram Sashanka Chakram Jagatam Sharanyam Shri Venkatesham Sharanam Prapadye. Ulagam Unda Peruvaya Ulapil Kirti Ammane Nilavum Sudaru Shuri Murti Nediyai Adiyen Aruyire Tiladam Ulagakkai Nindra Thiruvenkadathu Emberumane Kuladol Adiyen Unapadam Kudumaru Kuraye. Sarvatra Govindanama Sankirtanam Govinda Govinda. Sadguru Maharaj Ki Jai. The scene of Sri Venkatesha Vaibhavam opens at a divine abode, the Milky Ocean, Kshetrabdi. Our Narada Maharishi, the Triloka Sanchari, comes to our Milky Ocean to have the darshan of Perumal, Kshetrabdi Sai, and requests Perumal after showering a stuti which is equivalent to the essence of Vedas, and begs Bhagavan to bless the people of this world who are afflicted, especially with Kali. Immediately, our Kshetrabdi Natha also said, I also want to play. I also want to play with my beloved children of this earth. can you suggest me a good place for me to descend? Narada Maharshi said, Bhagavan, you are Sarvajna and you are asking me for an apt place for you to descend? And Bhagavan said, you, Narada Maharshi, is very unique because there is not a place where you don't go and sip into the various talks and opinions of people. Generally, that's what is called gossip, isn't it? You know all the three words gossip. You know what is happening to people inside and outside. Like the sun, you go around all the three worlds. Like Vayu Bhagavan, you know what is inside and outside of people. There are great rishis who are also jnanis. For example, Agastya Rishi would know only about the state of affairs, state of things up to Vindhyachala Parvata in the southern part of India. Our Bharadwaja Rishi may know up to Prayagam. And our Vyasa Bhagavan may know up to Saraswati Nadi Thiram. But you know what is happening in all the three worlds. So you know exactly the place for me to descend because you know all the three worlds like a map in the palm of your hand, like a back of your hand, they say. And you also know the state of Asuras. You know about Hiranyaksha, you know about Kamsa, you know about Ravana very well, and you are invited in all the palaces, all the sabhas. Even if I want to know about Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, Kamsa, etc., you only come and inform me. As Krishna Avatara did. Narada Maharshi not inform Bhagavan Sri Krishna about Kamsa, saying, Bhagavan, you are staying in Vrindavan far too long. Please start the journey towards Mathura because you have an important work, Avatara Karyam, of vanquishing Kamsa. So, apart from asking you, who else shall I ask about where I should descend to do my sports, for my Valayat, for my divine work, for my divine play? I am going to actually come to Bhuloka. Where can I stay? Narada Maharshi said, hey Bhagavan, how are you going to come? Tell me that first. Suppose Bhagavan comes with heavy clothing, then Narada Maharshi would suggest, a place which is very cold, etc. Isn't it? Just for example. So Narada Maharshi wanted to know in which state Bhagavan is going to descend. He has decided to descend. Bhagavan said, very good question, Narada Maharshi, only you can ask like that. Is it possible for me to come like this? Especially to earth? For me to tolerate all excesses, I need to take a lovely form which can completely tolerate all excesses, and not even a tinge of sensitivity need to remain in my divine form. If I come as Kshetrabdinatha, in spite of my great compassion, there would be a limit to my tolerance, and at times I may get a little upset and show my nigraha side, my punitive side. So, Narada Maharshi, I am going to come in such a way that I shall be almost insentient like a stone when it comes to transgressors. When it comes to love, I shall show my most beautiful form, my most benevolent qualities to those types of people who are devotees, who are jnanis. With them I will talk, with them I will emote, with them I will play. But for the rest of the human beings, because I have to tolerate their excesses and transgressions, I shall stay as if insentient, like a stone. Archavatara Rupena, I shall come down. Narada Maharshi said, in spite of all the apacharas, in spite of all the transgressions, you have decided to actually shower only your grace and compassion and mercy. Bhagavan, is there a limit? Kripa Samudra Srinivasa. There is a lovely place. There is a lovely place in the eastern seashore of Bharatavarsha, Dravida Desha. There it is near the Swarnamukhi river. It is a lovely place for you to descend. Okay. And how is that place? What is so special about the place so that I can descend there? It is totally bereft of rains, Bhagavan. All of them are afflicted. Even if I try my level best to do agriculture, Krishi, that land is not conducive for that. Generally, people are afflicted with diseases and they are in great trouble. People are not able to even stay there properly. It is an absolute jungle. Lions and foxes and wolves generally roam around in that jungle. I think that's the right place for you to descend and do your leelas. Bhagavan said, Hey Narada Maharshi, are you charting a path to nowhere for me? You want me to descend to such a place? I thought you would choose a place which is beautiful, with so much of flowers hanging from trees and bees singing around those flowers, fruit-laden trees, a place lush green, filled with prosperity. Bhagavan, for you to descend in a place where it is raining properly, all the people are happy, etc. What is the point? Like Dhritarashtra chose Indraprastha for Pandavas. Why? Because Bhagavan Sri Krishna would make even a desert like Indraprastha into a beautiful prosperous land by his Katakshana. Prosperous lands can be ruled by even Duryodhana. Only the places where it is needing your divine grace you should descend it. That is the reason why I chose this lovely place for you, because the moment you descend, the whole place will transform into a divine land of prosperity and abundance and flourish, isn't it? Bhagavan smiled. It was Bhagavan's intention only. The Leela of Bhagavan is constant. Even when he is discussing with Narada Maharshi, Leela Vinodhan. He said, Narada Maharshi, you have completely read my heart. That is the place where I shall descend. This is where the first chapter of Divyadesa Vaibhavam, Venkatachala Mahatmyam, graced by our beloved Sri Sri Anna, concludes. We will now do the Parayan of the second chapter, Ata Pancha Trimshodhyayaha, which is the 35th chapter of the part 1 of Divyadesa Vaibhavam, graced by Sri Sri Anna. Where in this chapter, I will tell you the chapter Sangraha. The moment Bhagavan wants to do a Leela, he does not like to do it alone. Sa ekaki na rameta. Bhagavan would always do the Leela with his chosen set of companions who are Nityas, who are always with him. And generally, some of them descend after Bhagavan descends. Some of them descend before Bhagavan descends to prepare the ground, the stage for Bhagavan's Leela. And some of them descend with Bhagavan, you see. So here when Bhagavan wanted to descend to do his Leela, immediately he looked at his Adisesha, the one who is the primal Purana Seshan, eternal servant of Bhagavan, which is our Ananta Nag, which is our Anantalvar, which is our Adisesha. And immediately he ordained Adisesha to immediately descend and set the stage for him to descend. This is how our second chapter of Venkatachala Vaibhavam, which is the 35th chapter of Divyadesa Vaibhavam, starts. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shri Sadguru Ruvacha. Tato Mukundaha Prajighaya Sesham Paryanka Bhutam Varamatmanastam Narayanasya Priyakamyayaiva Mahoragaha Saptagirir Babuva. The moment, Tato, after that, the moment when our Bhagavan Mukundaha, he ordained the Sesham. He ordained our Anantalvar to descend. he immediately descended down, and he always wants to please the Lord by his services. When he comes as Lakshmana Alvar in Ramayanam, or as Balramji in Krishnavatar, during Krishnavatara, you see how much love Balramji had for Krishna and vice versa. Bhagavan api Baladevena samyutaha. Bhagavan along with Baladeva, Bhagavan along with Baladeva did all the wonderful leelas in Vrindavan. Baladevena samyutaha. Even when our rishis were asking the question in the first chapter of Bhagavatam to our Suta Pauranika, the rishis asked, tell me, what are the various leelas Bhagavan did in Vrindavanam, Gokulam, Vrindavanam, Mathura, Dwaraka, Hastinapura, everywhere? Saha Ramena Keshav. Along with Rama, along with Balramji, tell me all the various leelas done by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Imagine that. Constant companion for his leela. Let us all together remember this great Adisesha, this great Ramanuja, this great Balrama, this great Lakshmana with love and gratitude, and bow down to him and pray that we also get the spirit of Kainkarya like Adisesha. And our Alvars are singing the greatness of our Balramji, greatness of our Ramanuja, greatness of our Lakshmana Alvar, greatness of our Adisesha. How much love he has for constant service. In all the three avasthas, Jakrata, Swapna, Sushuptihi, Lakshmana Alvar says, Aham sarvam karishyami. I shall do all your kainkaryam. That is the love he has. When somebody loves food, he says, I want to eat everything which you cook because you are such a great cook. Likewise, our Lakshmana Alvar says to Bhagavan, Ramachandra Prabhu, Are, Bhagavan ne, I want to do every kainkarya of yours. Every service I want to do. Not in all the kainkarya, all the time, in all the three states. All the time means, when you come as Ramachandra Prabhu, I will come as Lakshmana Alvar and do your kainkarya. When you come as Bhagavan Sri Krishna, I will even come before you as Balramji and do all your kainkaryam. But here a little bit change happened. Krishna ended up doing a little kainkaryam to Balramji. That aside, it is Krishna's wish to do that. And here our Alvar says, our Balramji, our Adisesha, has so much love for Krishna's seva, that he is saying, Sendral Kudayam. He does all the services in all states at all times. Sarva Desha, Sarva Kala, Sarva Avasthaya. Sendral Kudayam. When our Bhagavan walks, he becomes an umbrella. Sendral Kudayam. When did he show this kainkarya, this service? During Krishnavatara, when our little Krishna was moved from the prison in Mathura, and our Vasudevji took a small little basket, put our little Maragada Mani Neela Bhagavan Sri Krishna onto the basket, held him above his head with a heavy heart. He took our Krishna to Gokulam, isn't it? At that point of time, our Indra ensured there were slight rains every now and then, so that there is no movement of people in Mathura. And when it is raining, somebody has to hold an umbrella, isn't it? Who held an umbrella? It is our Adisesha who held an umbrella to our Bhagavan Krishna when Vasudevji took him to Gokulam. Sendral Kudayam. That's the reason why our Swamiji's Bhava. If you go to the places where Swamiji does the procession, Swamiji designed the umbrella for Perumal, for Bhagavan during the procession in the temple. And he ensured there was a small insignia of our Adisesha Perumal onto that umbrella. Why? Because umbrella is Adisesha Alvars, Ananta Alvars Kainkaryam na. So to remind a person holding this umbrella to do the service lovingly, like Adisesha, a little Adisesha would be intertwined onto that umbrella. That's the bhava of Acharya Purushas. fine details. And also when we see Adisesha there, we pray to him. We need to derive inspiration from the models. Na? The model of service is Adisesha. And my Guru Maharaj has given me a rare service to hold umbrella for you, my beloved Lord. And so let me now not even remember Perumal for whom I am holding the umbrella. Let me remember Anantanag, Adisesha, to do this Kainkariam fitfully so that it pleases Perumal, hence it pleases my Guru. This is the bhava of another Anantalvar, who was very beautifully one of the foremost disciples of Ramanujacharya, who is the very avatar of Anantalvar. You see the beauty here. Our Ramanujacharya is known to be the avatara of Adiseshan, Lakshmana Muni, to spread the philosophy of Visishtadvaita and to revive Bhakti, to revive Archavatar and Nishta of people. Great Acharya Purusha, Jagadacharya Purusha, and Bhagavat Ramanujacharya was sitting in Srirangam doing Kalakshepam, which is reading out the texts of Alvars and explaining the hidden meanings and bhavas there. He was reading a Nammalvar's lovely poem, Aruli Chayal. In that there is a line which says, Sindhupu Magil Thiruvenkadathu. The moment Ramanujacharya read that line, he started shedding tears of sorrow, hot tears. He was thinking that our Perumal, out of his tremendous grace, has descended. For us he has come to the 7 hills, just like how for us, the children of our beloved Guru Maharaj in North America, he came all the way to our North America and is sitting in Houston. That Perumal is sitting in a mountain in the 7 hills, and the Ananta Sai, which has taken the form of the 7 hills, is blessing us with trees which has lovely honey-laden flowers, and the flowers are now falling down on earth. Sindhupu Magil. Bhagavat Ramanujacharya, the word is Magil. Magil means it is making the entire area very pleasing and joyful. That's the actual meaning. But that gave tremendous sorrow to our Bhagavat Ramanujacharya, because he thought these flowers which are falling down from the trees are available there for our beloved Srinivasa Perumal. Is there not one person who could collect all the flowers and make a lovely mala for our beloved Lord, who left the joyous realm of Vaikunta, Shirabdi, Paramapadam to come and be with us? This little Kainkariam are we not capable of doing, fit to do? And he was crying, but he didn't voice it out. Acharya Purusha has a very deep heart. But the lovely disciples of our great Acharya went and supplicated, saying, Acharya Swami, what is that which troubled you when you read that line? Bhagavat Ramanujacharya asked that question. Is there not one human in this wonderful assembly, or an Pillai, to collect all these lovely flowers to make a mala for our Thiruvenkatam? When others were looking at each other, the one who stood up was this Amsa of Adisesha must have been. His name is also called Anantalvar, who said, Aham Sarvam Kari. If my Acharya Purusha wants a Kainkariam to be done, I will go to the end of earth to do it, while I will go to hell also, if that's what my Acharya Purusha ordains me as service. Immediately he said, I shall go immediately. His Devi, his divine consort, wife, was expecting a child. He didn't bother. Neither did she. Ideal family to do seva. Both of them started. He created a lovely little pond to water all the trees, so that he can do what is called as a malai. He can do a garland seva for our Srinivasa Perumal. So the descendants of Anantalvar still have this wonderful rite when they actually do the Mala Seva to our Srinivasa Perumal, to go inside and offer it. That's how Bhagavan remembers. One Acharya Purusha, the entire family and the lineage is all blessed. So here, that's the beauty of Anantalvar. The name Anantalvar inspired him to actually go and do Seva. And that's the quality of Anantalvar, who also was the disciple of our Bhagavat Ramanujacharya, who is actually the avatara of Adisesha. Sendral Kudayam, Irundal Singhasanamam. When our Bhagavan wants to sit down, our Adisesha immediately adapts himself as a lovely seat, a throne for our Perumal. Like in Paramapadam, like in Nanganeri, Thotatri Perumal, our Adisesha becomes his seat. Nindral Maravadiyam, if our Swami, if our Perumal is standing, immediately he becomes his footwear, his padukas, Maravadi. Neel Kalarul Yendrum Punayam Pumpattam. In this wonderful Shirabdi, he becomes a very soft, lovely bed. When Bhagavan wants to walk, he becomes the actual torch, which dispels darkness. Mani Velakam, Pumpattam, Pulgum Anayam, Tirumark Aravu. He is celebrating the lovely fortune and the greatness of our Anantalvar. So here our Sri Anna very beautifully uses the word, the first sloka of the 35th chapter, which is the second chapter of Venkatesha Mahatmyam. Tato Mukundaha Prajighaya Sesham. He does not want to be a Swami. There is no joy becoming a Swami. There is always a joy in becoming the Swat of a Swami. What does it mean? There is no joy in absolute independence. There is tremendous joy in this lovely bond of dependence on a Parama Purusha, whether it is our Acharya or Perumal. I always want to be your servant. Once a disciple was asked by a reporter, you are saying that you are a follower of so and so Guru. So in your philosophy, Siddhanta, what is the way for liberation and freedom? He said, in our Siddhanta there is no freedom at all, but eternal slavery to my beloved Guru, Sesham. To be always dependent on, to be always subservient to a Parama Purusha is the beauty. That's our Swarupa if you want to go in the path of Bhakti. Prajighaya Sesham, Paryanka Bhutam, Varamatmanastam. That Adisesha, who in Shirabdi, this is happening in Shirabdi, and Shirabdi Sai is only ordaining, na? So, Kadalul Yendrum Punayam Manivilakkam Pupattam Pulgumanayam. You see. And that our lovely Ananta Alvar was immediately ordained by Bhagavan to become Nindral Madavadiyam. You see, you need to know all this. There are three types of states in which our Archavatara, the deity in a temple, gives darshana. The lovely word used in our Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya is Sevai Sadhikira. He is allowing us to serve him in form of darshanam. The seva of the eyes is to do darshanam. Right now you are all sitting. I know you have lot of work. In spite of that, every week you have decided this 1 hour I have dedicated for Divyadesa Vaibhavam. You think Bhagavan won't notice all that? The seva for ears is Shravanam. So here, the way in which our Bhagavan is giving darshana, seva sadhikarar, is in form of standing, standing posture. In some places like Srirangam, it is lying posture. In some places like Nanganeri, it is sitting posture. So here Nindral Maravadiya means when our Perumal decides to stand, our Adisesha Bhagavan, Adisesha Alvar becomes his Padukas. And since Bhagavan has decided to stand as Srinivasa Perumal, our Adisesha immediately became his Padukas, his his divine footwear in form of the 7 hills. Just like how a snake has a very curvy appearance, you can see that 7 hills is also like a curving serpent. And just like how serpent can raise the hoods, our Adisesha Perumal raised his hoods in 7 places, and that became the 7 lovely hills. And just chanting the names of the 7 hills itself is a big fortune to devotees like us, Parama Bhagyam. Narayanadri, Garudachalaha, Simhadri, Venkatadri, Seshadri, Rishabhadri, Anjanadri. So you have Narayanadri, which is the Narayanadri, you have the Narayanachalam first. The second one is Garudadri, third one is Simhadri, and then Venkatadri, Sheshadri, Rishabhadri. So here our Anna, Sri Anna has very beautifully compiled these 7 as a shloka for us to remember. The moment we wake up in the morning, we can remember the 7 hills this way. Narayanadrihi Garudachalascha Simhadrirevam Mata Venkatadrihi Seshadrirevam Rishabhachalascha Tathanjanadrischa Bhavanti Sapta. 7 hills very beautifully compiled by Sri Anna. So we are going to see the greatness of each of these 7 hills, which has become the divine padukas of our Venkatachaleshwaraha. Shira Pradeshe Kalukala Hasti Prakashate Yatra Shivasya Lingam Kalascha Hasti Cha Samarcha Rudram Khyavapatustat Padameva Yatra. Shira Pradeshe, we said it is our Anantalvar, who is the 7 hills, na? The Shira Pradesha, the head part of our Anantalvar is Kalahasti, and Avapatuhu Tat Padameva Yatra. Our Bhagavan Parameshwara Sri Shivji has taken that as his abode. Sri Shailametat Kalupuchha Deshe Yatra Arjuno Bhut Sashishekharascha Aslishyatishthatyapi Yatra Rudram Girindra Kanya Vanamallikeva. And then his tail portion is what is called as Mallikarjuna Kshetram, Sri Shailam, right? Ahobilam Vakshasi Lakshyate Asya Prahallada Samrakshana Pakshapatat Guhantarad Avirabhut Nrsimho Virajate Bhakta Bhayarti Hari. The heart of our Sesha Shailam, the heart of our Sri Sesha Saila's center portion, heart portion, is Sri Ahobilam. So if you see, this Venkatachalam is only a part of it. Our Adisesha descended to such a huge extent that the top portion is Kalahasti, the tail portion is Sri Shailam, the center portion is Ahobilam. You see, Sri Venkatadrim Pariraja Murtehe Shiromanim Vishnu Padam Vadanti Bhuloka Vaikuntam Idham Pavitram Samsevitam Sarvajanaischa Nityam. Sri Venkatadri, as it is called, is actually the wonderful hood and a wonderful money on the hood. You see, the snakes have a wonderful gem. It's called a Nagaratnam. So our Venkatadri is the jewel in the hood of our Adisesha. It is very much no less, even greater than Vaikunta. It's called Bhuloka Vaikuntam. It is very pavitram. It is purest of the pure. And all the janas, sarva janaischa, everybody comes and worships our Perumal in this Venkatadri, Venkatacha. That is the beauty of our Adisesha descending down to form the seat, rather to form the holy footwear, to form the holy padukas, Maravadi, for our beloved Venkatesha Perumal. Anantalvar starts from this incredible place called Kalahasti. The place is called Kalahasti because an extremely mighty elephant, along with a very flimsy, puny, weak spider, together worshipped our Siva Perumal. And so it is called Kalahasti. Hasti means elephant. That's why it's called Hastinapuram. Hastinapuram was called Gaja Sakhvaye, Hastina, elephant. It is because it was founded by a person by that name. So a small little spider and a very mighty elephant worshipped our Asutoshi, Parameshwara, Kailashapati, Shiva. That is the Shira Pradesham, that is the head of our Anantalvar. Shankarshana's head is Shankara himself. It goes on to show, just because we think we are very poor, or we are very weak, or we are very not so strong in whatever way, socially, financially, physically, that should not stop us from worshipping divinity. When we become mighty, or when we are mighty, when we are strong financially, mentally, physically, or whatever, that should not hinder our worship of divinity. To show this, both the extremes, an elephant and a spider worshipped Shiva, Shankara. That is Kalahasti. The heart is Ahobilam. The heart of Bhagavan is very beautifully captured while describing the heart of this range of hills by our Sri Sri Anna. Ahobilam vakshasi lakshyate asya prahlada samrakshana pakshapadat. Pakshapada happens in the heart. Na? Bhagavan is generally neutral, but he is very, very, very inclined towards those who have devotion towards him. He is a Bhakta Pakshapadi. Otherwise, it is not worth doing bhakti. Na? If Bhagavan is always neutral, whether you are a Bhakta or a Abhakta, then what is the point in doing bhakti? Bhagavan is neutral when it comes to karma. Bhagavan is neutral when it comes to conduct. But when it comes to love for Bhagavan, Bhagavan becomes partial towards his bhaktas. Let me put it very crudely. Bhagavan is biased towards bhaktas, which is what makes Bhakti Siddhanta strong, isn't it? That is the heart of these 7 hills. If you love our Srinivasa Perumal, he would become partial towards you. The karma is kept aside. Our fate is kept aside. Time is kept aside. Even our nature is kept aside. Bhagavan does the grace. He bestows the grace. That love which you have for Bhagavan comes back as grace. Guhantarad avirabhut nrisimho virajate bhakta bhayarti hari. Our Narasimha Bhagavan is bhayakrit bhayanashanaha. He gives fear to those who hinder the path of sadhus, but he himself dispels the fear of sadhus. That is the heart of Bhagavan. And then the tail Pradesha, the tail part of our Adisesha, is what is called as Kalahasti, Sri Shailam, and the tail part of our Adisesha is Sri Shailam. It's called Mallikarjunam. Why? Because our Siva Peruman is in form of this Arjuna, Marudamaram. And our Parvati Devi has embraced her Lord in form of a lovely, fragile, beautiful creeper, Malli, the jasmine creeper. So here our Shiva and Parvati are inseparable. Parvati Parameshwara is in form of a lovely tree, Arjuna tree, and a creeper of jasmine which goes around the tree, which is how we have been trained by our beloved Guru Maharaj to see Yugalam, 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 Yengo, Yugalam, Yedilu, Yugalam. Vasudeve Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma may be a Siddhanta Riti. For us, you add a Shri there. For us, Sri Krishna is this entire Jagat. Radha Krishna Yugalam Sarva Jagat. That is a bhakta's way of looking at divinity everywhere as Yugalam. So here, our Sri Shaila Metat Kalu Pucha Deshe Yatra Arjuno Abhut Sashishekharascha Aslishya Tishtyatyapi Yatra Rudram Girindra Kanya Vanamallikeva. In this wonderful Sri Shailam, Girindra Kanya, the daughter of the mountain, which is Girija, we say, Giri means mountain. So the Girija, see the poetic embellishment, beauty of this sloka. Giri Kanya is now embracing Girisha in Sri Shailam, which is Sri Giri. You see, that's the stretch and the humongous form of our Adisesha when he descended. Because Bhagavan is Ulagamunda Peruvaya, our Adisesha descended as a huge Paduka. And of all this, our Venkatadri is the jewel on the hood of our Adisesha. And one of the great tirthas in this Tirupati is, Tirumala is, what we saw in the second edition, a lovely Agastya Falls we saw, it is very close to that, it looks like that. Even more beautiful in Tirumala. Akasha Ganga Satatam Sravanti Vishnoho Patakeva Virajate Atra Sarvani Tirthani Cha Tatra Tatra Tapam Cha Papam Cha Haranti Nrina. So there is this wonderful Akasha Ganga, a white lush waterfall, which looks like a milk pouring forth, to show the victory flag. We say na Jaya Kodi, or we say Virajate Vishnoho Patakeva, like a flag announcing the victory of Bhagavan over Kali, over affliction, over all troubles, over all pains, because he has descended. There has to be a flag announcing it, na? The Akasha Ganga which is falling is like a flag announcing the victory of Bhagavan there. And there are many tirthas then and there, which we are going to see all the tirthas in the coming chapters. And what does those tirthas do? Not only it quenches the thirst of our lips, it quenches the thirst of our heart. Not only that, Tapam cha, Papam cha, it completely quenches the fire of sins in all of us. See, that is the beauty of the tirthas in Bharata Varsha. Tirthas are there all over the world, but they are not real tirthas because those waters can quench only our physical thirst. But here, these waters quench physical thirst. It's very cool water. We have had the bhagyam of going there by Guruji Kripa about 3 years back. It quenches mental thirst, tapam. It quenches the spiritual thirst in form of the fire of papam, you see. And it quenches this thirst of transmigration, the sapam of transmigration, by developing love in our heart and by making us chant the Govinda Nama, which is reverberating in all these hills. Tapam cha papam cha haranti nunam. So the entire Saptagiri, now you have to wear your poetic hat to relish this rasam. Now it's no longer information, become a poet. Ninjikondu nokumine, in Kankondu nokumine, says this Mahatma. Look at this wonderful 7 hills, which is the very embodiment of Adisesha Swami's love towards Bhagavan, to serve him in a poetic eye. So the Akasha Ganga in the 7 hills is the wonderful flag declaring victory of Bhagavan over Kali, over affliction, over conflict, everything. Then Sahasrasho bhumi ruha mahantas chalanti vatena cha kampita akhe Seshadhirajastya panashrahasram ivothitam Vishnu varanga sangat. Since it is the 1,000-headed Anantanag which has come and become this wonderful hills out there, the range of hills there, here when there is this lovely breeze, when all the trees are shaking hither and thither, it appears as if, see it with your heart, the 1,000 hoods of our Adisesha, which rejoiced in the service of our Kshetrabdi Natha in the Milky Ocean, is rejoicing the service of Sri Venkateshwara in this Bhuloka. And all the trees are the various 1,000 hoods of our Adisesha, moving here and there, relishing the seva of our beloved Perumal. Just like how our Adisesha relished the seva. When you relish something, you shake your head, na? When you relish a song, you say aha. When you relish music, you say aha. When you relish some food, you say aha. These are all prakritam. The aprakrita relish is when you do a kainkarya, you relish the fortune of the kainkarya, you also shake your head and say aha. Likewise, these trees which are moving with all the leaves, shivering with joy, with the little gentle sound of shh, is like aha. Imagine that. That's the Saptagiri. The dhyana itself is Anandamaya. And so we first saw how the Akasha Ganga itself is like the Jaya Kodi, the victory flag. And it has lot of other tirthas which declares the victory over Tapam and Papam. There is the Panchayuda Tirtha, the Chakra Tirtha, Shanka Tirtha, etc. And there are many little tirthas because many rishis went and did penance there, like Jabali Tirtha, etc. Hence, all these tirthas are there in the 7 hills, which actually dispels the tapa, which is the thirst of our mind, and papa, the thirst of our Sukshma Sarira and our Karana Sarira. And hence, our Akasha Ganga is saying Jayam, Jayam, Jayam. When the Akasha Ganga is falling from great heights, rushing to bestow its grace to all of us, it is actually declaring a Jaya Gosham. Shh, Jaya, Jaya, Jaya. You see, Jaya over Tapam and Papam. And then all the trees are shaking their heads. These are the 1,000 hoods of our Adisesha, relishing the seva of our Bhagavan, Adipurusha, which is our Srinivasa Perumal. Then see, Samsari Santapa Vinashanartham Samudgataha Kshira Nidehe Tarangaha Yatatataivam Bhudhara Vrajanti Shri Venkatadre Shikareshu Shitaha. And our Bhagavan came from Kshetrabdina. Our Bhagavan came from the Milky Ocean, isn't he? So, when Bhagavan came with his Ananta Naga, Kshetrabdi also thought, my goodness, my Lord has gone, and the foremost servant whom we take inspiration for our seva, which is Adisesha, is also gone to earth. Why should we stay here? Come on, let us all go. With all the wave after wave of our Kshetrabdi coming towards our Tirumala, it seems. You see? Why? To quench the samsara tapam, to quench this thirst of samsara of all these human beings. It came as wide, lovely clouds over Tirumala. So when you look at this white, wonderful, bubbly clouds above Tirumala, remember, it looks like our Milky Ocean itself with various waves coming to serve our Srinivasa Perumal in the service of quenching the thirst of transmigration of all the jivas. That's why he came, na? So his servants will also do the same seva. So here is saying, Samsari Santapa Vinashanartham, as if to completely quench the thirst of all these samsaris. The waves of the Milky Ocean came to our Tirumala as the various wonderful white clouds. Yata tataivam budhara vrajanti Shri Venkatadrehe shikareshu shitaha. To give the coolness to all these people who are roasted by the heat of samsara. Generally, when there is a water-bearing cloud, it is dark in color. When the cloud completely empties of its water content, it becomes white. Those are the clouds coming to prepare itself to take the waters from this giant ocean of compassion called our Srinivasa Perumal. So it is moving around in white, fluffy white colors like the waves of Kshetrabdi. And then first the flag, Then the 1,000 hoods of our Adisesha are the trees moving around when the wind and the breeze blows. And then these white clouds are but the waves of Shirabdi. Guhantaraleshu charatna basa nirastagādanda tamassu tatra Shri Vaishnava Bhagavatam patanto haranchi chittodbhavam antakaram. Beautiful, beautiful. I wish you can relish it. I am sure you are. Like how Mahatmas relish these divine abodes. Generally, when you are in a mountain and when you are in a cave in the mountain, the cave is always dark, isn't it? But in this mountain, it has some very precious divine gems, corals, emeralds, sapphires, etc., which dispel the darkness of the caves in our 7 hills, and it exudes lovely light. And so these Bhagavatas and Rishis have taken refuge into the caves of our Saptagiri. And what are they doing with the light? Bhagavatam patanto, the love we all have for Bhagavatam is shown here by Sri Sri Anna. They all use these wonderful gems like sapphires, emeralds and corals in this wonderful mountain to read Bhagavatam, the light. Even though cave is dark, it is illumined by this lovely light of these precious gems in the cave. And then there is also this fine lustrous powder, makarandam, which reflects the light to give uniform lighting everywhere so that you can read Bhagavatam without strain, it seems. And here see the beauty. As they are reading Bhagavatam in the Divya Desam of Sri Venkatachalam, their cave of the heart, where generally the darkness of ignorance reside, is also dispelled by the light of Srimad Bhagavatam. In such a short verse, I wish, I don't know, I know you are, enjoy this, relish this. This is what is bhakti, relishing our acharyas, relishing our Sri Guruji's Madhura Geetam, etc., and remembering either Bhagavan or an abode associated with Bhagavan or the servants of Bhagavan or the Nityas of Bhagavan or Muktas of Bhagavan. The dark caves, which are supposed to be dark, in the hills of Venkatachala are illuminated by precious gems embedded in the walls of the hills, and the light is beautifully spread and dispersed as uniform soft light all around by the wonderful lustrous powders. You have powders in the mountains, and using the light, Rishis are reading Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam, Yasvanubhavam Akila Shruti Saramekam Adhyatma Deepam Atitirshatam Tamo Andam Samsarinam Karunaya. The little lamp, it is called a lamp, which dispels the darkness of samsara in the heart of all the samsaris by the divine grace of Bhagavan. So the grace of Bhagavan is in 2 levels. Physically, the grace of Bhagavan is shown as a physical light for us to read Bhagavatam. The divine light which Bhagavata Bhagavan bestows in our heart dispels the darkness of ignorance in the cave of our heart. Hridaya Guhara Madhye. You see. Beautiful. And what else is happening? Nrityanti kujanti vadanti harshat shikandinastatra pikaha shukascha gandharva vidyasu nidarshayanti. The beauty after Bhagavan descended in those 7 hills is being described. There are a lot of peacocks in the mountains and the hills who are dancing with joy. Lot of birds like mynas, like cuckoos and parrots who are chirping so sweetly, and they are making the coo coo sound. And there are lovely noises, sweet noises of all the birds. I shouldn't say noises. They are actually the voices of pure music. The dances of these peacocks are perfectly to the grammar of Natya Shastra. The music of cuckoos, mynas and parrots are perfect to our Sangeeta Shastra. And as if they all become perfect nipunas, scholars in those Shastras, possibly because of the wonderful divine presence, Sanidhya of our Srinivasa Perumal. Akila Kaladi Guru, isn't it? Our Krishna. When he descended, even these animals seem to have picked up the perfect, blemishless grammar of the Natya Shastra and Sangeeta Shastra. Such is the beautiful divine ambience of these 7 hills. Vyagrascha simha harinascha tatra kridanti gavo mahishascha kishaha parasparam prema vicheshtitena Vishnu prajatvam cha nirupayanti. There are these very ferocious animals like tigers, lions, bears, etc. And very docile animals like deers and wild boars and wild buffaloes, etc. And in spite of all that, the lion seems to play with buffaloes. Tiger seems to play with deers. And mahishascha kishaha. The snake seems to play with mongoose. Why? Because this is what a Vishnu Praja is supposed to be. Parasparam prema vicheshtitena. Bhagavan is priyameva shiraha. Tasya. Bhagavan is made out of priyam. And hence all those who are the servants of Bhagavan actually look at each other and they either do dandavatu, they do pranama, or they embrace each other, or they look at each other with tremendous love, because this seems to be the proof that these are all Vishnu Jana, these are all devotees of Vishnu. And these lions, tigers, deers and buffaloes seems to actually prove the quality of Vishnu Jana. So they, even though by nature they are enemies, in Tirumala they seems to be friendly and loving to each other. Bhrugur Vasishtopi cha Naradascha Mrukandusunuhu Bhagavan Shukascha Tataiva Manye Munayascha Sarve Svavasamichanti Guha Sunityam. All these Maharishis who have their ashrams all around Bharatavarsha, wanting to be under this wonderful shadow of our Bhagavan Srinivasa Perumal, starting from Bhrugu, Vasishta, Narada, Markandeya, Bhagavan Shukaha, all of them, they have taken their abode in the little caves of these 7 hills to be under the shadow of our Srinivasa Perumal. So they also want to stay there. We generally go where divinity is, na? People who are spiritual. So they took their abode, just like some of you choose your homes close to our Namadvas, close to our Srinivasa Perumal. That is what is the love for Perumal is, isn't it? Likewise, all these rishis, even though they were far, their ashrams are far away, they all decided to come and settle under the feet of our Srinivasa Perumal, like all of you are going to do in future. Aprakritam sthanamidam hinunam ime janaste pasubhakshinascha aprakritam rupam upetya vishnum pravesha matrena bhajanti hantaha. This place is not just like any other hill which is a product of nature. This is aprakritam, this is divine. The hills are divine, the trees are divine, the animals are divine, the people living there are divine. Why? Because divinity has taken this place as abode. Anybody associated with this divine abode are also divine. You see, that is the beauty and divinity of Venkatachala. We shall see, we have finished about 14 slokas. There are 8 more. We will see that in the weeks to come. And I look forward to be with you week over week in joy. As a family of Govinda, Govinda another Srinivasa. As a family of our Govinda, let us relish our family deity Srinivasa Perumal week over week together as his family. Radhe Radhe. Kayena vacha manasendriyirva बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि। सद्गुरु महाराज की जय। राधे राधे।